Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to open our Sidurim on page 129. Odili Banilo Haroem Bashoshanim Dodili Mizot Olam Min HaMidbar Mizot Olam Min HaMidbar Dodili Banilo Haroeh Bashoshanim Dodili Mekuteret Mol Mol Lebona Mekuteret Mol Lebona Dodili Banilo Haroeh Bashoshanim Dodili Ivatini Achoti Kala Ivatini Achoti Kala Banilo Haroeh Bashoshanim Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so nice to welcome Shabbat in community. This Shabbat of Parashat Lech Lecha that marks you can say, one of the beginnings of our people. This Shabbat of journeys, this Shabbat after an election week that certainly took lots of energies from us and to enter Shabbat and to aim for recharge with prayer, with music, in community. This is also a special Shabbat. Our friend, Rabbi and teacher, Rabbi Shaichel, is with us here, spending the entire Shabbat, and we are going to be learning with him just 3, 4, 5, 6 times during the length of Shabbat. So we are very pleased and very grateful that you made all the trip from the very cold New York City to the not that cold Northern California. Baruch haba. We will now turn our Sidurim to page 120 for Adlakat Neirot. Joy and David Spodik, if you can lead us in the blessing.
Asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. We're on page 130.
Lechu neranenam l'Adonai
page 132. אדוני מלאכת גר הארץ, ישמחו עם רבים. ענם ברפל סביבו, צדק משפט, הון כי היסור. סרו על הצדיק ולשרי לב שמחה. A light is on for the righteous and a path of joy, of connection for those seekers of righteousness. מזמור שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, כי נפלאות עשה. Page 134, we think of each one of these psalms, each one of these poems, each one of these melodies as a step in a stairway that lead us, that help us enter paradise on time, space, a time set apart. Page 136.
מזמור לדוד, אב לאדוני בני אלי.
מזמור לדוד, אב לאדוני כבוד ואור. מזמור לדוד, אב לאדוני בני אלי. מזמור לדוד, אב לאדוני כבוד ואור. אב לאדוני כבוד ואור. אב לאדוני כבוד שמו. אב לאדוני כבוד ואור. אב לאדוני כבוד שמו. אדוני יוס לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אדוני יוס לעמו ייתן, אדוני Adonai yevarech et amo bashalom.
Yai, yai, yai. Yai, 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 yai. Yai, yai, yai. Yai, yai, yai. Yai, 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 yai.
Adonai yevarech et amo bashalom. Adonai os le'amo yitem. Adonai yevarech et amo bashalom. On page 138, come to welcome the Shabbos Bride Chadodi. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekavela. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat mekavela. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hameyuchad. Adonai echad u'shamo echad, l'shem u'letiferet. לשם ולתפארת וליתנה, לך אדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Shabbat tefila, lecha Adonai likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekavela, b'nei Shabbat nekavela.
התנערי מעפר קומי, נשי בגדי תפארתך עמי. על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קרבה אל נפשי, קרבה אל נפשי גאלה, לאדוני לקראת קהלה, בני שבת מקבלה, בני שבת מקבלה.
It was a new melody. It is a new melody. I think you're ready to try it. So let's see how that goes. Itoreri, itoreri, iva orech kumi ori, uri uri, shir daveri, kevod Adonai. That's wonderful. Kevod Adonai alai tefila. לך אדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקהלי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמים, בך יחסו עניי ענבי, ונבנתה עיר אל תילה. לי 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 שוסייך ורחקו כל מבלייך, יפיסייך אלוהייך תמסוס חתן הקלה. לי 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 לי
ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We have welcome Shabbat, and we are going to take now a moment to welcome each other to say Shabbat Shalom. And at risk of for that taking more than 30 seconds, we're going to think of that as taking 2 minutes, and we'll say Shabbat Shalom to each other. Let's acknowledge each other's presence. And if you see someone who's standing along, so make sure that you are that person who reaches out and say Good Shabbos, break the lines. Friends, we are on page 100. We're on page 140. מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, ליום השבת. You may be seated, you can be seated, we are מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, ליום השבת. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, לסמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, לסמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר, בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות. להגיד בבוקר, בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות. צדיקת אמר יפרח, צדיקת אמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון ישגה. שתולים בבעדיה, שתולים בבעדיה, בחצרות אלוהינו הפריחו. עוד ינובון, ינובון בשיבה, ושנים ברעננים יהיו. להגיד כי ישר, כי ישר אדוני, צורי ולא עוולה בו. page 144, חצי קדיש.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייך ובימיך ובחייך בית ישראל. בגאלה, בגאלה, ובזמן קריב, ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמרה
המבורך, לעולם ולעולם בהלמיה.
יתברך וישתבח, יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה
בריחו
לילה מן כה ברפתה ושירתה.
תושבחת ונחמתה, תמיד אמרי עלמא.
ויאמרו
We're still into page 146. Please rise for Baruch.
Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, Mariv Aravim, who evenings the evening into being, skillfully opening the gates, altering the time, changing the seasons, arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. Our creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing from one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot Shemo is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim.
Olam, Beit Israel, your love with an everlasting love, an unconditional love with expectations. An unconditional love nonetheless. And so as we get closer to saying the Shema, I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and to think about the connection with a source of unconditional love feels like, looks like to you in your world. I invite you to think of that love, of that presence, as a prayer, as if it was a prayer shawl, el talit, and let that talit surround you, embrace you. And with each breath you take, allow that love to fill your body, to fill your chest. Become one with that love, with that presence, with that energy. As we hold tight to it, I invite you to take one more deep breath. As we aim, as we hope to become one. Dear God, please never remove your love from us. בבטך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Your eyes closed. Shema Israel.
Page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אמת, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. אמת, באמונה כל זאת וקיים עלינו, כי אדוני אלוהינו. בן סולתו ואנחנו ישראל עמו. We continue with the silent rain over page 156. Your children witnessed your presence. They praised your name in gratitude and they accepted your sovereignty. Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices with joy. Mi chamocha v'elim Adonai, who is like you, O God? We are on page 158. Adonai, mi kamocha, nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilos, osefele, nora tehilos, osefele, malchutecha, rahu banecha, k'ayam, lifnei Moshe Miriam, tei, anu ve'amu, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. נאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. לעשיתי סר, אדוני redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own, from a challenge that seemed to be, that felt impossible. Praise to you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Gaal Israel. We'll now turn our Sidurim to page 160. Ashkeven Adonai Anu Shalom. In the middle of page 160. Ushmor zetenu uvoheinu לחיים ולשלום ואתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Now turn our theory into page 164 for Tfilat Amidah. We will turn to Yerushalayim, our eternal capital. Adonai Sfatai. We're on page 164. תגיבו לעולם, אדם מחיים, את הרב להשאיר. ועל כולם יתברך ותאמר שמחת לנו תחיל לעולם בעת. אלוהים נצח. For those that have concluded Filat Amidah, I invite you to read together at the bottom of page 180, the words that sealed Filat Amidah, Birkat Shalom. Yaseh Shalom b'imromav, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן.
At this point in our evening, pause for a moment to remember those who may be dealing with illness, with malady, with addiction. And as I move my hand around the room, I invite you to share aloud the names of who you are thinking of, who you are praying for with the community. With the words found in our
Scott Van
handout.
Gundy, Dave Stahl, Batya Peters, Sandra Goldberger, Victoria Spiller, Verdine Coven, Sandy Corman, David Spodek, Lori Shaken, Debbie Pink, Robin Leiter, Rich Zabridger, Jim Rosenfeld, Naomi Levinson, Ruth Murad, Liz Herman, Joyce Cordy, Judy Sutton, Ellen Kashik, Bernice Paris, Brant Kotowski, Ivor Barber, Don Barnett, Alex Chapman, Shelley Goodman-Taub, Arlene German, Mary Lou Sasso, Karen Chamberlain, Roz Zinn.
With the words found in our handout and the names we hold dear to us, we invite you to sing and pray for their refuah shlema, their complete recovery.
Wish to all those dealing with illness in their bodies, in their souls, carrying addictions, carrying grief, recovery of nefesh and body. Wish well-being for those that can experience well-being. I will say amen. Refuah shlema. Rabbi, it says, Bar Torah, Rabbi Shai Held. It says, but so so we have introduced you many, many times. As a matter of fact, I think some people saw you in the hallway and say, "Oh, you look exactly as in the picture." I heard that twice. It turns out the picture was a picture of you, and so I will introduce you not with your biography. We posted it everywhere. I promise to you. So I'll tell you something. Tell you and tell everybody else something else. A couple of years ago, a beloved teacher of mine, Rabbi Stanley Davids, I told you about him an hour ago. He said to me, you are studying a little bit with Rabbi Shai Held. I said, yes. And he said, study more. Study more with Rabbi Shai Held. Pay attention to Shai Held. He's one of the minds of our time. And I didn't know, but I said, well, you know what? If my rabbi is telling me to pay attention to Rabbi Shai, I will. No, I was actually studying already with Rabbi Held, sporadically and as much as I could every time he taught. And I just want to say that Rabbi Shai is one of the, not only of the great minds of our time, and I will say it again and again and again, and I apologize if that embarrasses you, but also one of the great teachers of our time. He's a teacher who has a Torah and he has a phenomenal ability to share that Torah. And so, to some extent, I am your student, we are your students, and it's a great privilege to welcome you here at Shir Hadash. Baruch haba. That's your height, right? Like, I think it makes sense.
Good enough.
And you don't need this.
It's okay. Thank you. It's very rare when I get up to speak that someone puts a watch away. Normally they drop one in front of me, but hey. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you very much, Nico. It's always a privilege to be eulogized while you're alive, so thank you. Thank you. It really is a privilege to be here. I will return the favor of being embarrassed by saying only this. I hope you know what a truly unique rabbi this community has. I have now had the privilege of probably teaching in 150 American synagogues. Trust me. Just trust me. You want to? Okay. Amazing. So later on tonight, I'm going to sort of zoom out and talk a little bit about why I wrote a book called Judaism is About Love, and specifically what I actually mean when I talk about Jewish love. But what I want to do for a few minutes right now is actually zoom in and think about what is arguably the arch commandment of the Jewish tradition. Love your neighbor as yourself. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Now, there is something deliciously Jewish about this. That is, Rabbi Akiva tells us that this law, this mandate of loving our neighbor as ourselves is the great principle of the Torah. And yet, the next conversation, what does it actually require of us, Jews have never stopped arguing about. Right? There's just something quintessentially Jewish about this. It is a conversation starter, never a conversation ender. What are we asked for? And there's a whole array of answers about this. There's a chapter in my book about this. But I want to share with you one explanation of what loving your neighbor means that, I'll say this in a way that will sound almost melodramatic. In my own writing and teaching about love, this is an interpretation that grabbed hold of me and wouldn't let go. And so I just want to share it with you and say a few sentences about why it had that effect on me and invite you to consider whether that might be something that could affect you, something that you could carry in a similar way. Nachmanides, Ramban, one of the great medieval Jewish commentators, points out something that is very easy to miss. The phrase in Hebrew is ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. I'm going to translate this in a second. It is not, as you would expect it to be in biblical Hebrew, ve'ahavta et reacha kamocha. That is, to translate this hyper-literally, the mandate is not love your neighbor as yourself, but rather love for your neighbor as you love for yourself. And he says, surely that's significant, but what on earth does it mean? And he says something that is on the surface very simple and that I've come to think is actually extraordinarily deep and challenging. He says, as a rule, people go through the world with one of two attitudes. Even generous people. Attitude number one, I am fine with your having everything that I have as long as you just have a little less of it than I do. Number two, I am fine with your having everything that I have in every domain except for the one that I care about the most. In that one, I have to have a little more. Love for your neighbor as you love for yourself, says Ramban, is the overcoming of that way of going through the world. It's going from sort of generous to actually generous. From sort of open-hearted to actually open-hearted. But the question is, and this is me talking, not him, I don't want to put words in his mouth, why do we do this? And I want to propose to you that in some ways, to sort of speak anachronistically, what we have in Ramban's words is a medieval critique of contemporary American culture. In contemporary American culture, I think it is fair to say that many of us are not often willing to admit this, but we spend a lot of time harboring the idea, the illusionary idea, that we acquire our worth by comparing ourselves and competing with other people. I may not be the smartest person in the world, but I'm smarter than you are. I may not be the smartest person in the world, but I'm better looking than you are. I may not have the best marriage, but let me tell you, professionally, I am a much bigger success than you'll ever be. And the question is sort of why we do this. You know what? I'm going to violate my plans for this and take a 1-minute digression. I want to tell you one of the most moving experiences I've ever had in all the years I've spent teaching in the American Jewish community. I was speaking in a community in northern Westchester, New York. So think fairly affluent, fairly successful. And I was teaching sources about self-worth to a group of parents of young children. That was who was invited to the room. Young woman raises her hand, and she says the single most courageous thing anyone has ever said in a class of mine. Ready for this? She gets up and she says, I just want to say that I think my friends and I in this room have done a really good job of not competing with each other. Instead, we just compete through our kids all the time. By the way, I was blown away by this. She said it in the room with all her friends sitting there, right? Talk about being vulnerable and taking a risk. It was sort of amazing. And we ended up having this incredible conversation about why do we do this? Why do people do that, right? Even comments that appear generous sometimes have an edge. Oh, your kid is in a special school? If I told you that my kid just got into Yale, right? There's a way in which it's this insidious force. And what I want to propose is this. In a culture in which people do not have a genuine and grounded sense of self-worth, they pursue what I would call a fool's gold version of self-worth. Why is it a fool's gold version of self-worth? Because if you acquire your sense of self-worth by comparing yourself to other people, the moment you compare yourself positively to someone else, you then get anxious that you'll meet someone else who you'll need to compare yourself negatively to, right? Here's a personal experience. I go through the world thinking I'm better looking than everyone else, and then I meet George Clooney. Right? I gotta tell you, that was very hard for me. It was a very rude awakening. No, actually, it was hard for him. No, so he has never recovered. Now, but, right, or by the way, why are universities such brutal places, right? You put a bunch of people who are so insecure, whose sense of self-worth comes from thinking they're smarter than other people, and you put them in a room with a bunch of people who make them feel anxious that the other people might be smarter than they, and so they eat each other alive. This is what I call committee meetings, right? Really, by the way, if you've ever taught in a university, this is everywhere, right? It's fool's gold, and it means that we live our lives invested in other people failing. And this runs really very deep. And the truth is, I have a feeling, and I'm kind of overgeneralizing, many of us are like ashamed of the fact that this dynamic goes inside of us, so we lie to ourselves about it, but it's very real. It's very, very real. And so the reason that this commentary of Ramban sort of kind of wouldn't let go of me is I felt like, what would it actually take to live like this? To walk through the world feeling like, oh, you just were honored for something that I also think I'm pretty good at? I'm so happy for you. You just were recognized? That's wonderful. And I think the answer is, or an answer is, and I recognize that this is hard language for a lot of American Jews. Let me just sort of put that on the table. But the claim of the Jewish tradition is that none of us ever have to earn our self-worth because we are always already infinitely valuable just by dint of having been created by God. I find that theological idea has such almost breathtaking liberatory potential. I don't need to compete with you because I'm already infinitely valuable and so are you. And so maybe I can adopt a posture of, that's amazing, I'm so happy for you, and actually mean it. And so it feels to me like one of the central questions of Jewish education. This is about schools, this is about homes, this is about synagogues, this is about friendships. How do we create a culture in which people actually believe that they matter and they don't have to do anything to earn that? The spiritual life is not about earning our worth, it's about trying to live up to it. That is a total reframe of everything about America, it seems to me. That is a theological reframe of everything that is broken about our culture. What is the culture of, right? Here's the most anti-religious thing that ever happened in human history. Ready? The idea that people speak of branding themselves. I need a brand. What is that? Like, what is that really? Where does that come from? What kind of insecurity does that actually reflect? And so I want to sort of invite us to consider the twinning, if you will, of a theological idea and an ethical idea. The theological idea is, I don't need to earn my value. That's the amazing gift. I don't have to earn it. And the ethical implication of that is, I can genuinely wish you well. I can love for my neighbor as I love for myself. Judaism is about a lot of things, but ultimately, I think one of its core claims is that there is a different way of walking through the world than the one that we are so used to. And I don't expect that we're all going to go home tonight and be like, oh, I didn't know I was infinitely valuable. Now all my traumas are healed and all my insecurities are gone and I feel great. And by the way, I love you, right? I'm not naive in that way, but I think there is a way in which this idea, if we sit with it, if we sit with this cognitively, if we sit with it in our heart, if we sit with it in our belly, has the potential to be a kind of lodestar. That's what I aspire to embody in the world, right? That's what I aspire to embody in the world, to feel that I am enough and that therefore I'm capable of wishing you only good things. Shabbat shalom.
We'll continue our service on page 586 with Aleinu Leshaveach, and all those that are around the age of our mitzvah or below it. We invite you to join us as we open the ark for Aleinu Leshaveach. Please rise. Children, come on, let's open the ark. Parents, send your children, we have candy. Let's do it very carefully, Rabbi. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כאויי הרצון, אלא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו בהם, וגורלנו ככל ההמונם, אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. In the middle of page 590, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמן, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, As we are going to close the ark, please the curtain first. You may be seated. At this point of our service, we take a moment to acknowledge mourners. We'll remind first your side, and then we will acknowledge those that are mourners here in the Beit Tfilah, in the room.
Remember those who died in the season past: Anna Bale, Benjamin Hill, George Shaken, Gitla Intrator, Isaac Steiner, Melanie Harris, Rose Politsky, Ross Bergman, Samuel Spool, Sidney Green, Sal Goldberg, Theodore Levin.
If you are during the first 7 days of mourning Shiva, please rise and share with us who you're remembering. If you are during the cycle of the first 30 days of mourning Shloshim, please rise and share with us who you're remembering. Rabbi. If you are during the cycle of the first year of mourning, please rise and share with us who you're remembering. If you have a yahrzeit this week, please rise. As we turn our Sidurim to page 598, you can support our fellows who are standing or sitting. Join us with your voices or your hearts for Kaddish Avelim. יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה, בעלמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי ארמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה ברכו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושלתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. May the memories of your dear ones be a blessing. יזכרם לברכה, יזכרם ברוך. You may be seated.
Who our board rep is. Somebody was given a piece of paper. Do we have a board? Denise, welcome.
At least you were given a piece of paper. That's good news.
Good? Okay. Shabbat Shalom. I'm just going to highlight a few announcements, but you can find all events on our website calendar. Tomorrow, Saturday, November 9th, 9 a.m., Shabbat Cafe in the foyer, 9:30 a.m. Torah study, followed by 10:30 a.m. Shabbat service, 12:15 Lunch and Learn, led by Rabbi Shai Held, explore themes of compassion and love, which are centered at the heart of Jewish spirituality. 6 p.m. Havdalah and conversation with Rabbi Shai Held and Rabbi Nico. Enjoy wine, cheese, and conversation. Sunday, November 10th, Kulanu is in session. 11 p.m., I don't think that's right.
11 a.m.
11 a.m., Project Zug orientation. Find ways to connect and grow your learning in the year ahead. 12 p.m., Mahjong in the chapel. Everyone's invited. Tuesday, November 12th, 6:30 p.m., JET program and dinner. 7:30 p.m., choir rehearsal for the Interfaith Thanksgiving service and preview. Thursday, November 21st, 7 p.m., Interfaith Los Gatos Thanksgiving service at Congregation Shir Hadash. We are looking for bakers to provide cookies and treats for after the service. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will add that Rabbi Shai will be also teaching in Torah study tomorrow morning. So an unusual and I think will be great Torah study. I invite you now to turn your Siddur to page 122 for Kiddush. ויערב ויבוקר יום השישי, ויחול השמיים בארץ בכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי וחברותיי,
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפם, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא הקודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון המחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. We make sure that we close our tefillah, sharing blessings with each other. I invite you to stand next to your family, next to your chosen family, next to a friend. And if you are standing on your own, make sure that you give company to someone else, or that you don't stand on your own, that you connect with someone, adopt someone, gain some love, get some connection. As we say to our children, may God inspire you to be like the fathers and the mothers of the house of Israel. Yasimchem Elohim, Kefraim Bekemenashe, Kesara Rivka, Rachel Belea. And we say to them and to all of you, Yeberechechem Adonai, Beish Merechem, may God bless you and protect you. Yer Adonai Panav Elechem Bichunekem, may God's light shine upon you and may God be gracious to you. Isa Adonai Panav Elechem, may you find within you God's presence always. And may God bless you with the ability to recognize your infinite worth, to know that you are infinitely loved, and that life is not to be lived as a competition, but rather as a journey of self-realization, of connecting with your spirituality and living up to the worth that you have and you were given. May God gives you, instill in you the shalom, the peace, which is its most beautiful gift to us, in order to be able to connect with all those things, with all those ideas, with an open heart. Ve'asem lachem shalom. Adonai os le'amav iten, Adonai yevarech et amo bashalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, mevorach everybody. Shalom rach. ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. בטוב עיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם. Good Shabbos, everybody. Have Shabbat dinner together, and then we will continue with the Tish with Rabbi Shai. Good Shabbos.